Hey, this is Barry White for News 10's Game Guys. With me is David Cox, producer on Konami's Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Dave, how you doing? We saw this in June at E3.
Yeah.
What do we have new since then?
Well, we're showing pretty much a large section of the game which takes you about 4 hours in, but the overall game is about 20 plus hours. So it's a big action adventure game where you take the role of Dracula and you're basically, what you're trying to do is end your immortal life. But at the same time, an old enemy is coming back to teach you a lesson because you defeated him in the first game. So, I guess players can expect a kind of hack and slash type combat component in the game, but a lot more exploration this time around.
Now, how do you guys go about adding more exploration? Because Lords of Shadow was a pretty decently sized game. How do you expand upon that?
Well, the first game was a very linear experience, so you go from A to B and it load level by level. What we've tried to do this time is have something that's a bit more open world, so players can go wherever they want to go. I mean, we kind of lead them in the direction of a story, but at any point in the story they can decide, I don't want to do that, I can go back, I can go left, I can go right. So it's a much more kind of open experience. It gives players a lot more freedom to explore than we had in the previous game.
Was that due to player feedback? Was that just wanting to try something new?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked to a lot of our fans after the first game shipped, and they were, they said that they really liked the game, but they wanted to have a lot more exploration because that's something that the Castlevania series, is famous for. So we felt, we had to sort of try and deliver on that. So it meant us building a whole new game engine in order to facilitate that. But I think with this time around, players can expect a lot more freedom than they had in the previous game.
Now, you mentioned there's also going to be some changes to the gameplay aspects. What are players going to find?
Well, we've added new weapons for starters. I mean, in the original game you just had the combat cross, but this game you've got 3 new weapons, and those weapons have their own abilities, and you're able to level those weapons up. So it's got quite a heavy RPG component, I suppose, which again is something that Castlevania's been synonymous with. So I guess what we've tried to do is mould the Lords of Shadow aesthetic with the kind of old-style Castlevania gameplay, and so this game I think is a much more complete package than the first one.
Now, talking about old-style gameplay, more just an old-style attitude, Castlevania is known for the castle. But with Lords of Shadow 2, you're incorporating a contemporary modern cityscape along with that. How do those two seemingly opposites fit together?
Yeah, what we tried to, at the end of the epilogue in the first game, we showed that your character was Dracula and that he is still alive in modern times. So what we've tried to do is to develop a world that feels real at the same time. So it's based more like on modern European cities where you have castles, you have kind of old cobblestone streets, gargoyles, that kind of stuff, next to modern buildings, modern skyscrapers. So although it's a modern city, it's not like we're dropping Dracula in the middle of New York, Times Square. It feels like it belongs in the Castlevania universe. So it's a designed city, an imagined city, and obviously the game takes place in one night. So it's very Castlevania feeling.
Now, this game is coming out really soon, February of 2014, I believe, but it's only current gen, or rather this previous generation.
Yeah.
Why not expand that or just move completely to the new systems, PS4 and Xbox One?
We did talk about this about 8 months ago because obviously once the specs for the new consoles came out, but it would have meant taking quite a few steps backwards in terms of our development, and which we didn't really want to do. And not only that, but we felt that the Lords of Shadow series belonged on current gen. We felt that the Lords of Shadow 1 being on PS3 and Xbox 360, the second one should end on that rather than move over to PS4. The PC version that we're delivering, is I guess going to be the closest to a next-gen title. But we felt that we wanted to keep the fans that supported us and bring the game to that format rather than bring it to the new formats.
I'm sure a lot of more veteran gamers would appreciate that, especially the ones who haven't had a chance yet to pick up an Xbox One or PlayStation 4. But looking ahead, is that something you'd like to move to? I would think it is.
Yeah, we have plans to work on next generation console with a new project with Mercury Steam. We're not going to revisit Castlevania. For us, this is the end of the story, the end of the line. We had a story to tell, which is Dracula's story, and I sort of feel that if you've got a story to tell, there's nothing worse than keep telling it over and over again. So I think this is the big conclusion for Lords of Shadow 2. I think fans will be satisfied with the ending. I think it's a fantastic ending, and we're going to move on to new things, for the new generation. So it's a clean break for us more than anything.
Fair enough. Now, one thing that a lot of players, especially more mainstream players, appreciate about the first one, and I was happy to see come back in the second game, are the voice talents, Patrick Stewart and whatnot. Tell me a little bit about bringing them back and a little tie-in with ABC.
That's right, yeah. As you know, we've got Robert Carlyle playing the main character Dracula, and he's present in Once Upon a Time playing Mr. Gold. He's very enthusiastic. It was the first video game he'd really worked on, and he really enjoyed working on it, and we kept in touch, and when the second one came up, he was very open to it. And he had a lot of input on the character himself. There were certain things that we'd written in the script and we wanted it done a certain way, but he came in and he brought his experience and his talent and said, let me try this, guys, and he'd do it his way. And 9 times out of 10 his way was always better. So it was great. It was great working with him. And we also had Richard Madden, who's in Game of Thrones. He plays a major character, and Natasha McElhone, Patrick Stewart. I think one of the things that we wanted to get across with the show too was the kind of deep emotional story. And I think when you've got voice actors with that kind of talent, it really brings another dimension to the performance. And I think hopefully when players play the game and they get to the end, they're going to feel the emotional impact of the story of Dracula, which is a tragic one.
Well, David, thank you very much for your time. And gamers will again be enjoying this game February of 2014. Previous gen, PS3, 360, and the closest to next gen on PC. For New Sins Game Guys, I'm Barry White.